The world, once a vibrant tapestry of blocky biomes, had devolved into a maelstrom of pixelated terror. Alara, her avatar a lean figure with determined eyes, had logged into her favorite multiplayer server just as the Apocalypse mod update went live. What followed wasn't a game, it was a descent into a brutal, unforgiving reality. The sky, once a gentle gradient of blue, was now a perpetually bruised purple, occasionally streaked with sickly green lightning that arced across the horizon like divine disapproval. The familiar hum of ambient Minecraft music was replaced by a guttural symphony of growls, screeches, and the unsettling thump-thump-thump of distant, monstrous footsteps. Zombies were no longer just slow, groaning noise makers, they were shamblers, hulking masses of decaying flesh that could smash through stone. Skeletons were bone gunners, armed with rapid-fire bows that spat deadly, explosive arrows. Creepers were flesh rippers, their explosions not only tearing chunks from the landscape but also leaving behind pools of corrosive ichor. Alara died countless times in those first harrowing days, each respawn a fresh dose of despair. She learned quickly. Never venture out at night, never trust a seemingly empty cave, and always have an escape route. Her initial strategy of digging a dirt hole and hoping for the best was quickly rendered obsolete when a tunnel worm, a segmented, multi-mouthed horror, burrowed straight through her makeshift shelter. She needed more than survival, she needed a sanctuary. A fortress. A beacon of order in the heart of chaos. Her wanderings led her to a colossal mesa plateau, its flat, crimson surface rising hundreds of blocks above a desolate, crater-pocked plain. The sheer cliffs on all sides offered natural defenses, and the height provided a panoramic view of the horrors below. This was it. This was where she would build. The initial phase was agonizingly slow. Every block of cobblestone she mined, every tree she chopped, was a risk. The air itself felt thick with unseen dangers. Even daylight offered little respite. Sun-scorched, zombies, immune to the sun's burning touch, roamed freely, their desiccated forms twitching with unnatural speed. Her first base was a small, reinforced stone box, 3 blocks thick, with a single iron door. Inside, she placed a crafting table, a furnace, and a single chest containing her meager possessions, a stone pickaxe, a rusty iron sword, and a few baked potatoes. Sleep was a luxury she rarely indulged in, opting instead to monitor her surroundings, listening to the cacophony outside. Her ambition was vast, but her resources were limited. The first priority was a self-sustaining food supply. On the plateau's flat top, she carved out a series of tiered farming plots. Water, collected painstakingly from meager rain showers in stone troughs, was directed to irrigate rows of wheat, carrots, and potatoes protected by sturdy glass domes. Acquiring seeds was a perilous task, requiring daring raids into abandoned, infested villages where plague carriers spewed clouds of noxious gas. For protein, she set up a small, automated chicken farm in a secure underground chamber, the chickens unaffected by the surface blight, providing a steady supply of eggs and meat. Water was a more complex challenge. Rain was unreliable, and the ground below was often contaminated. She engineered a complex system of hydro-collectors, modded blocks that absorbed atmospheric moisture, connected to a purification plant, fueled by coal. Clean, fresh water flowed into storage tanks, secured deep within the base. Then came power. The Apocalypse mod thrived on energy consumption. Automatic defenses, advanced crafting stations, lighting, everything required juice. Her first generator was a simple coal burner, loud and inefficient. She meticulously mined for more coal, each descent into the earth an encounter with rock lurkers, creatures that mimicked stone until she drew near. Eventually, she secured enough resources to craft a solar array, a field of massive, light-absorbing panels on the plateau's roof, and a wind turbine, its blades slowly turning against the bruised sky, providing a stable, if modest, power supply. With basic needs met, Alara turned her attention to the fortress itself. Her vision was not just a base, but a monument to defiance. The Mesa Plateau became the foundation for a sprawling, multi-layered complex. Defenses. The outer perimeter was a formidable barrier, a double layer of reinforced obsidian walls, 20 blocks high, studded with auto turrets that hummed with a menacing energy. These turrets, powered by the solar array, tracked and fired devastating plasma bolts at anything hostile that ventured too close. A deep, lava-filled trench, 60 blocks wide, encircled the entire plateau, an impassable moat for most ground-based threats. Below the lava, a hidden layer of blast-proof barriers prevented any burrowing horrors from undermining the structure. She installed proximity sensors along the walls. Redstone lines ran like veins through the stone, connecting sensors to a central command room. When a threat was detected, alarms blared, and the turrets spun to life. Below the main plateau, a network of modified dispenser traps, loaded with explosive arrows of harming and flaming molotovs, covered any accessible tunnels or caves. The inner perimeter was equally robust. Steel gates, reinforced with adamantine alloys, separated key sections of the base. Force field emitters pulsed with shimmering energy, creating impenetrable barriers around critical infrastructure, only deactivated by Alara's biometric scanner. Living quarters and infrastructure. At the heart of the base, deep within the mesa, lay her living quarters, a surprisingly comfortable space with soft lighting, a large bed, and a panoramic window overlooking a carefully cultivated indoor garden. It was a stark contrast to the desolate world outside, a testament to her refusal to simply exist. Adjacent to her living space was the command center. A bank of flickering screens displayed real-time feeds from dozens of surveillance cameras mounted around the base. She could activate specific defenses, monitor power levels, and track incoming threats from this central hub. Massive storage facilities, organized by type, held mountains of resources, meticulously sorted ores, vast quantities of refined materials, and reserves of food and water that could last for years. Her crafting area was a marvel of modded machinery, automated fabricators that assembled complex components, industrial furnaces that smelted entire stacks of ore in seconds, and an enchantment nexus that supercharged her tools and armor. The power core was a glowing, pulsating chamber housing a fusion reactor, a terrifyingly complex and dangerous piece of technology she'd built from schematics found in a dilapidated research outpost during a harrowing expedition. It provided an almost limitless supply of clean energy, enough to power her entire fortress and its array of defenses. The mod, however, was truly chaotic. Just when she thought she had a moment of peace, the world would throw something new at her. One week, it was acid rain, corroding anything exposed to it, forcing her to construct retractable roofs over her solar panels and deploy massive atmospheric purifiers. Another time, a meteor shower hammered the plains below, each impact throwing up clouds of dust and attracting hordes of crater beasts, behemoths that could burrow through solid rock. Her defenses were constantly tested, constantly upgraded. The Plateau Fortress had a name now, whispered in the lonely broadcasts of other, less fortunate survivors, Aegis. Then came the Great Blight. It wasn't a mob, it was a phenomenon. A vast, creeping corruption emanating from a broken portal deep within the nether. The sky turned an even deeper, more sickening purple. The air thickened, distorting vision. And from the plains below, the largest assault yet began. It wasn't just zombies or creepers. It was a tide of everything the mod could throw. Shadow walkers, translucent, silent figures that phased through walls, were detected by her advanced, frequency scanners. Armored brutes, towering, obsidian-skinned giants, marched towards the lava moat, seemingly impervious to damage. Flying screechers shrieked overhead, attempting to bypass her walls. Alara was in her command center, her fingers flying across the holographic console. Turrets, focus fire on the screechers. She commanded, her voice calm despite the tremor in her hands. Plasma bolts lanced into the sky, exploding against the winged terrors. Activate ground mines on sectors Gamma and Delta. Explosions ripped through the advancing ranks of brutes as they reached the edge of the lava trench, staggering them. But there were too many. The sheer weight of numbers was beginning to tell. Shadow walkers began flickering through her outer walls, deep within the base perimeter. Internal defenses, engage, she barked. Automated laser grids snapped on, vaporizing the ethereal invaders. A massive crash echoed through the base. An armored brute, impossibly, had thrown itself across the lava moat, sacrificing countless lesser creatures as a bridge. It slammed against the reinforced obsidian wall, cracking it. Another followed, and another. The force fields around the power core flickered under the strain. Alara grabbed her custom-built Stormbreaker, an enchanted pickaxe that doubled as a powerful melee weapon, and her plasma rifle. She sprinted to the section under attack, bypassing activated laser grids with specific keycards. The air was thick with smoke and the stench of burning flesh. One of the turrets had been disabled. She took aim with her plasma rifle, its energy cells humming ominously, and fired burst after burst into the armored brutes. They roared, but the concentrated fire from her weapon, imbued with modded enchantments, began to chip away at their armor. With a battle cry, she charged, swinging Stormbreaker in wide, powerful arcs, shattering the cracked obsidian and then the monster's hardened hide. Hours passed in a desperate, pixelated ballet of destruction and defense. Alara fought with a ferocity she hadn't known she possessed, moving between damaged sections, repairing turrets, reactivating force fields, and personally engaging the most dangerous threats. Her armor, enchanted with Thorns IV and Protection X, sparked and glimmered under the onslaught. Finally, as the bruised purple sky began to lighten, signaling the end of the Blight's peak, the assault began to wane. The remaining monsters, decimated and leaderless, began to scatter, retreating back into the blighted plains. Alara leaned against a cracked obsidian wall, her breathing ragged, plasma rifle still warm in her hands. Smoke plumed from several sections of the base, and the air was filled with the acrid smell of ozone and decay. The fusion reactor hummed erratically, straining under the load. Damage reports flashed across her wrist-mounted display. Significant repairs were needed, but Aegis still stood, Her fortress, her defiant sanctuary, had held. She looked out over the wasteland, the rising sun casting long shadows over the retreating horrors. The fight was far from over. The Apocalypse Mod was a relentless adversary, but she was stronger, smarter, and more resilient. She had built a fortress not just of stone and steel, but of ingenuity and unyielding will. Alara took a deep breath, surveying her battered yet unbowed domain. "All right," she muttered, a grim smile touching her lips. "Time for repairs." And then, an antimatter cannon. The chaos raged outside, but within the walls of Aegis, Alara was ready for whatever came next. She was the architect of her own survival, the last bastion of order in a world gone mad.